welcome back to Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town. I am Eric, who you may call Eric, and with me is Gibby, who you may call Devin.
Hi everyone.
Now, from what I understand, Mr. EIBI, you have something you wish to share with the class for this show and tell.
So, my voice is very hoarse right now. Hopefully, you guys can't hear it, but I think the longer we go, the worse it's gonna get. It is currently, and I don't want to talk about this for too high of a percentage of the episode, it's currently FNAF week. It is the 10th anniversary of Five Nights at Freddy's, and if you don't know, I have a YouTube channel which I talk about internet horror, which includes Five Nights at Freddy's, because it's such a big part of internet horror. And this week, there is a demo for a new game, there's a full new game release, there's a new book release, there's some sort of collaboration announcement that people think is going to be Fortnite. Let's see how poorly that ages. There's an hour-long interview with the creator, which is only the second time that's ever happened before. There's teases for the second movie, there's just a lot of stuff going on. The book that was released a couple days ago is a choose-your-own-adventure novel. I'm doing a playthrough of the choose-your-own-adventure novel. So I'm basically reading a novel-length book on video while playing the game. And this requires hours upon hours upon hours of reading in a narrator voice. But not just in a narrator voice, I'm also doing the voices of the characters. So when I'm the little kid, I do my little kid voice. When I'm the mother, I do my mother voice. When I am the weird robot, I have to do my robot voice. And then the main character, whose name is Devin, I just do my voice because I'm Devin. So yeah, that's why my voice hurts. For 2 days straight, I have now just recorded basically narrating this book while also pausing to give, like, commentary and talk about the game and stuff like that. So yeah, my voice hurt. What about you, Eric? Have you ever read a book?
I have read a few books. I've even read books aloud in like high school and stuff because I always thought it was a little weird, but like it's so much of our time in the English classes was just reading out books aloud to the entire class. So like Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Hamlet, all them, and I would put on my British accent the best I could and would read as various characters.
When I was a
That's the
junior,
closest thing.
we were reading One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And for that day, I was, like, assigned, like, okay, Devin, you're reading the next, like, 5 pages. And as we have determined, as I have discussed multiple times, I don't say no swear words. And that passage had a lot of swear words. And so the teacher's like, okay, Devin, you're reading. And I just went, no, no thank you. He was like, you're reading the paragraph. I said, no thank you again. And then there's awkward
Amazing.
silence, and then he just picked someone else.
That's pretty good. It's pretty funny.
I did a lot of I took like two playwriting classes, I think, in college. And so part of that, like, you write your play and then you go to class and then everyone performs the play. Like, not like actually, like, you just do a read through. So what I had to do is I would get the next play that we were looking at, skim through skim through the entire thing while the professor is talking. Find which character had zero curse words, so that when it was time for us to cast the play, I would volunteer to play that character. Because I knew otherwise, I would just, like, not be volunteering and therefore not be getting participation, points.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, there are some days where I'm not going to volunteer to play literally any part. That's going to be a problem. So whenever there's an opportunity for a character with no cursing lines, I need to take that one. And so I would literally speed read every single play before it became time for us to start doing it. And I did that for 2 semesters because I took 2 playwriting classes
Wow.
with the same professor.
Surely you could have just went up to your professor and say, "I refuse to curse as a matter of principle," and you'd throw in religious belief if you wanted, and then your professor would just go, "Oh, okay. Well, I will make sure I will help you do this," instead of reading ahead all of the time.
I believe, knowing that professor as I did, that their response would be, college is a time to like get past your comfort level and like open up new avenues of thought. And this is an artistic expression. You know, no one thinks it's you saying it. It's the character saying it. So that would have just been much worse, and that would not have worked, and I would not want to have done that.
Mm. Um, that reminded me of a few. Believe it or not, I went to college for a second, and in terms of like speaking in front of everyone, right? I remember I had a mandatory speech therapy, not speech therapy, like public speaking class.
Yep.
And for uh one during that time frame, right, I attended my classes, it was fine, it was whatever. Um and the class was fine. It was with I was gonna get an A so easy. But I had a cyst, uh, CYST, on basically my tailbone. So I couldn't sit for a long time because it was huge and it was uncomfortable and it needed to go. So I got surgery and it got taken out. But I had to do this in the middle of the semester. um, and so then I didn't. And so, right, I only had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 classes, right? So I talked to my classes and they were like, okay, you do you, man. Like, we'll figure it out. And for this class, for this public speaking class, she was like, okay. And I was like, okay. And then she would just send emails of like, when are you coming back to class? And it would be like, oh, I'm getting the surgery is on the Monday, so I'll need this many weeks. And literally like the next Monday, she was like, why weren't you in class? And I was like, I'm recovering. I can't sit. I can't like I don't what? And it got so I made a friend in that class, and I think she regrets it because the teacher would then go to that friend to text me because she knew we exchanged numbers, and would be, like the friend would be like, "Hey, when are you recovered? The professor is making me text you because you haven't come back yet." And I was like, I told her it was at like a minimum 4 weeks. She was not happy.
Okay, okay, but like you're taking a 10-week long course and you have to not go to class for 4 weeks. Like,
Oh,
doesn't that
sure,
mean
it
that you should
was.
just put your classes off for a semester? Like, you just can't go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In hindsight, like yeah, maybe. I didn't realize the cyst was there until I had started sitting for multiple hours and hours every day.
Hmm.
Um, and so by the time I did realize it, I had already missed the period where you can like withdraw your classes for free. And I was like, well, I've already spent my money and I can't get it back. So,
Okay, I guess that makes sense. But
and
like I can just see it from the professor's perspective where they're like, I'm teaching a 10-week course. This person's not here for 4 of those weeks. Am I just supposed to pass them even though they're not here? Like,
yeah. Well, and here's part of the thing I would say. Like, for my other classes, like, some of the work they gave was online, and I did all of that work, and like those went fine. It's she could have figured out a way that like I literally do anything outside of like cry about it.
Well, yeah, but there's no such thing as online public speaking course. Or I guess
Uh-huh.
she could she
Uh-huh.
could she could have made you like, okay, Eric, you're so for today's class you're gonna record a YouTube video of yourself
Right.
and then we're gonna play it in front of everyone. Or just live stream in. Obviously
Yes.
this was like 9 years ago, but still.
Um yeah, no, there were definitely workarounds. Like it could have just been a normal phone call with her. Um and it's, you know, like no shade, but it was public speaking. And I don't have a problem with public speaking. And then I ended up like I think I still got an A in her class anyway, despite missing so much. Because it was just like, yeah, I'm just talking.
I also took a public
Talking's easy
speaking
for
course.
me.
Talking is easy. I took a public speaking course. I don't know if you know this, but
Hmm.
I'm good at public speaking. So I could tell that I was like my professor's favorite. No humble brag, total normal brag, full brag intended. So like this was just a college course, and there was a bunch of communications majors in there. One of the girls who I remember like distinctly was like she wanted to like work in broadcasting, but like behind the camera or as a producer, right? Like she's not going to be a news anchor. So she's a communications major, but being a communications major meant that she had to take a public speaking course. So that's why she was there. Nobody there was there for public speaking.
Hmm.
I was there for public speaking because I wanted to be a teacher, because I wanted to be a YouTuber, because I was going to do these things that involved that. And I remember the entire course of the class, I asked one question because and again, I don't know how to say this without it being like whatever, but I'm like, I believe public speaking is like, it's definitely a skill and a talent you can develop, but like either you're going to be good at it or you're not. Like you can't really train yourself to be gooder at it, if that makes sense. Like the skills involved are like memorizing a script or remembering where you are by looking at note cards instead of reading, or just being able to project your voice. Right? Like those are things you can practice, but overall, like if you're scared of public speaking, you're not going to not be scared of it. So like the only question for the entire thing I asked was, I'm like, "Hey Mr. Professor man, when you're giving a speech, what do you do about eye contact?" And then he's like, "Well, what you should do is you should look over the heads of the people in like the third row so it looks like you're making eye contact with someone, but you're not really." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." And like that was literally the only question I asked. Now this was a probably hour 45-minute course every single week, right? Like we met once a week, and it was an almost 2 hour class period. So the professor would give us an exercise, and then we would take turns, and everyone would give their little speech thing. So the first was like, stand in the front of the room and ad lib something you're annoyed about. That was like day one. So everyone gets up there and like ad libs about whatever. And I went up and I'm like, I hate being stereotyped or something. I specifically remember being like, yeah, like I like Taylor Swift. Get over it. I'm sure you can appreciate that, Eric. Just because like that's just a totally me thing to complain about.
I mean, it is.
So one of the courses was we had to get up in front of the class and say the alphabet. So everyone got up and said the alphabet. And the professor's point was like, when you're standing in front of a room of people, something as simple as the alphabet, like, you might forget. And he was so right. There was like 5 people in the class of 20 who like lost their way in the alphabet because they were trying to public speak. Everyone else was able to do it, whatever, it was fine. So then part 2 of the lesson was get up in front of the class, say a letter of the alphabet, and then say a word that starts with that letter. So go up and be like, apple, B, boy, C, coaster, D, dead, E, effective, right? Like get up, you say a letter, you say a word. Because that prevents you from getting up and just like singing the alphabet song in your head, because you have to pause, and you have to remember what the next letter is, and you have to think on your feet and come up with a word. So that was the purpose of the exercise. was to, like, make it difficult to say the alphabet. So everyone would go up there, and they would all say the same couple things in the beginning, right? Like, everyone started with apple, and then after that, they would, like, diverge. What do you think everybody said for Z, Eric?
Zebra.
Close, they said zoo.
Dang.
Zoo, zebra, you know, those are both good answers that did come up. So I'm sitting there. Keep in mind, 2 hours. Keep in mind, every single one of the 20 people who went up spent about 5 or 6 minutes saying the alphabet. So I had a lot of time to sit there and practice in my head what I was going to say when it was my turn. This is obviously a little cheating, because the first guy who went up had to, like, think on his feet. He had to think on his feet. Whereas I could sit there and be like, when I get to Q, my word's going to be this. So I come up with a funny meme. As I just said, everybody's Z was zebra or zoo. So
Zelda.
I'm going to have every letter I say be an animal. A, aardvark. B, bull. C, cat. D, dog. E, elephant. F, flamingo. On and on and on. Every single letter, I would come up with an animal that starts with that letter. The hardest one for me to come up with was actually J, because that took me forever until I settled on jaguar. But I was literally sitting there with my entire list done, like written on a piece of scrap paper, staring at J, because like I could take out my phone and Google an animal that started with a J, and I finally was like, yes, jaguar. So I get up there, and it's finally my turn, and I go down my list of aardvarks and foxes and parrots, and I get toward the bottom, and I go Y, yak, Z, zipper. You're not laughing.
No, yeah, that was so funny.
Because everyone did zebra or zoo for Z, which is what you think I would do. Because all my other ones were animals. But no, I did zipper, which isn't an animal thing.
It's so quirky.
It's so funny. Nobody laughed because no one's listening to anyone else's presentation.
Rip.
Yeah, rip. I like, because, you know, once the 20th person gets up and just says the alphabet, like, either you're preparing for your turn or you're napping because you already went. So yes, I put in a lot of effort. I learned that jaguar starts with a J, and I accomplished nothing because nobody followed the joke or got the joke or thought it was funny.
It's okay. They can't all be bangers.
Yeah. One of my,
Wait, what'd you do for X?
I don't remember, but I definitely figured out an animal that starts with X. Animal that starts with X.
But you can't just...
I figured it out at the time. I don't remember what I said, though. This was forever ago. It may have been a dinosaur. Or I may have said, like, the Latin name of something. So, during that lesson 1, like, ranting about your pet peeves, one of mine was like, I hate it when the teacher forgets to erase part of the chalkboard. Right, like, oh man, they left some random streaks of marker or chalk here. So, and everyone's like, haha, that is so relatable and quirky. People liked that. So, for the last thing we're doing for the entire semester, we're supposed to give a presentation on something that matters to us. This one girl went up and did this, like, 20-minute long rant on how you're, like, not supposed to drink milk. And at first, I think most people, including myself in the class, thought she was joking, but she was not. And it's not even for, like, vegan reasons. She's just explaining why it's bad for you. And then we're like, okay. So people gave all of these things about, like, how you're supposed to, like, again, a presentation, something that you're knowledgeable and interested in. One kid did intermittent fasting, right? Like, everyone just had a thing. So I show up to class. I get there an hour before the class starts.
Wow.
I go in, and I take the marker, and I write random stuff all over the board. But it's stuff that you conceivably could have had in a previous lesson. Like in the corner, I wrote like some dates from the 1800s. And then in the middle, I wrote like the opening lines to the Gettysburg Address. And then over on the other side, I drew this like this linear graph chart with like, the axis is labeled as if someone was doing math. And then I erased everything in the middle of the board. And for some of the stuff on the edges, I like dabbed it with the eraser so it looked like it had been there for a while and it just aged. But I definitely left their stuff all over the board. So it just looked like a dirty board. And then I leave and I go outside and I wait for an hour. And then we all come in and then the class starts. And then everyone goes up and the girl talks about milk and the guy talks about only eating nuts. And then it's my turn. And it's not like we've announced what we're going to be talking about before we start. So other people have PowerPoint presentations. Other people brought like props. This one girl is like, I'm a nurse. I'm going to show you how to dry your hands with one single paper towel because I have to wash my hands constantly. And if I used more than one paper towel, I killed 13 trees a year. So if I teach you how to do it, you can save all the trees. So I get up and it's my turn. And I just walk to the front of the class and I turn around and I face my fellow students. And I go and I pick up the eraser for the whiteboard. And I'm like, so you're going to want to start with one swift swiping motion down from the top of the board. And if you apply an equal amount of pressure, you're going to end up erasing. And people just burst into laughter. Because I have become, some of my computer's making dinging noises. I think I may have lost internet connection there for a second. I made it like part of my presentation for each class to mention the whiteboard thing. Like at one point, my professor was even like, "Oh, Devin, like sorry for your turn. I forgot to erase the whiteboard. Haha." Like it became like an ongoing inside joke for the class. And so my final presentation was erasing everything on the whiteboard. And that was like the thing I demonstrated. And then at the end, I shattered the illusion, and I was like, so now you too, if you're a professor and you want to clean up before the person, the professor before you left some marks on the board, or if you're a student and you're just doing a good job, or if some person in your class came in and made marks all over the board so that he could demonstrate how to clean it in front of the class, and then everyone laughed again. And I'm like, now you too can clean a whiteboard properly. And then I sat down, and I remember the girl who like wanted to go into TV broadcasting was talking to like her buddy next to her, and she was just like, I just want to be his friend. As if like I was so quirky and entertaining in front of the class.
Just an ephemeral creature that can't be comprehended.
Yes. One of the I think we had to like tell a story from our lives or something. So I told the story of there's this tradition, and by tradition I mean it was just a terrible coincidence, where every time I went on my family vacation for the summer, I'd lose a tooth. I can tell that story, but I've been talking for a long time and my voice is hoarse, so I think it's your turn.
Okay. Well, in terms of before loose tooths, I also took some acting classes, and it was not too bad, pretty fun. I remember one of the exercises, we got split into groups, and before we got split into groups, part of the homework that everyone had was to like just write down like a fairy tale, like Little Red Riding Hood or The Ugly Duckling or something like that. And so then we got split into groups, and then everyone like threw in their sheet of paper with whatever folk tale they had on it, or whatever. And that was, you then had to act out this play in your own way, based on the group you had. And so I got Red Riding Hood, so I played, the big bad wolf.
Yes.
And everyone loved the performance we ended up doing. Stellar hit. And someone else did Rumpelstiltskin, and they also did like a good performance. And one of the things that I think the entire class realized was like, oh, the people playing the villains like got it to an extent. And so much so that the guy playing Rumpelstiltskin, he like brought all of us villains together and was like, "Yo, we need to like make an MCU style universe for us villain characters." Unfortunately, we didn't, but that was one of the greater times. Um, Goodness, what else? What else?
You had to
So
like actually
yeah,
perform
yeah.
in plays, right?
Oh, sure, yes. I mean, not because of acting class, but at the time I was like, I'll be an actor maybe or something. Who knows?
Or
And
like a YouTube presenter of videos about cryptids and stuff.
Devin, shut your mouth. You can't do it two in a row.
I can do it as many times in a row as I need.
Anyway, yeah, no, played in the Dracula. And
Who'd
it
you play in
was,
Dracula?
gosh, what was his name?
Dracula?
No,
Van Helsing.
no.
Those are the
Do
only
you remember?
characters I know.
Um, what's his name? Hawkins? Harker. His boss, right? You know how it's like some guy is doing like a real estate, and that's why he goes to Dracula's castle.
Yeah, I definitely read Dracula less than 14 years ago and remember all of the characters.
Fabulous. So I believe it's Jim Harker or something who like
That sounds right.
he's a real estate agent more or less, and his boss is like, check this out, good boy. There's a house for sale or whatever. Like, talk to this lord about his mansion. I was that guy. I was the guy who sent someone to their death by saying Dracula. Um, I had like two scenes, and then I was basically a stagehand for the rest of the thing, which was fine. Being a stagehand is kind of fun. Um,
Yeah, I work with someone currently. One of my employees did a lot of stagehandy stuff. Like she worked doing multiple plays, and she's like, and I asked her, I'm like, oh, like you did plays, like were you an actor? And she's like, no, I was a stagehand. Pause. The fear grips her. The PTSD comes back, and she's like, they did make me go on stage a couple times, as if
mm,
she was like mortified just to remember the fact that she had to act at some points. And I'm like, I get it to an extent, right? Like I get you want to be involved in theater, but you're not an actor. But at
yeah.
the same time, like, why? What is so alluring about theater besides acting? Like, I get that there are people like that, but I don't
Well,
get
it's
it.
it's about the communal aspect to an extent, being part of a community and sharing in this thing that you love, but just from a different perspective. Coming up with the creative ideas of like, the set pieces need to change, and how do we change them effectively, and who has to go where and stuff like that.
I guess my like this is just my bias from like my worldview, but I'm like, if you could be if I could I just kind of assumed that if anybody could be anything in the world, they'd be an actor, and that everything else is just a secondary choice because they can't be an actor.
Yeah, no, that sounds heavily colored by bias.
That's I'm just realizing that is that just me?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know how to tell you this, but people that wanted to be doctors probably didn't want to be actors first.
But like doctor makes a lot of money and maybe they're good at it. Like I don't know, my view would be like, yes, everyone wants to be an actor, but because they're not good enough, they do other things. And that's how
No,
everybody feels.
no, no,
No? Am I
no.
wrong?
Yeah,
What?
I don't
That
what? Just
I
look at
I
a generic scientist, right?
yeah, I just kind of assumed that they're like, listen, I want to be George Clooney, but I can't. So now I need to be a marine biologist.
I don't. No, no.
No, you don't think that everybody would drop their current career to be a celebrity?
I have a friend who has like a when she came up with a 10-year plan of what she wanted her life to look like by the time, like, she made this plan when she was like 14 to
Mm-hmm.
like become a, you know, PhD science person. And like she's getting there. She's still following that plan and
Yeah,
is
but like
committed.
when you're 14, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm never gonna be George Clooney. But like, if you could be, then you would be.
But she could have been George Clooney at 14 if she wanted to, but she was like, no, I want to be a
Uh,
science person.
no, I think there's some like material aspects that require you like, no, not every 14-year-old can be Leonardo DiCaprio. Some 14-year-olds are. For example, Leonardo DiCaprio when he was 14. But it's like,
Boo.
oh no, I didn't get born with the being the most handsome man alive genes. I guess I can't be Leonardo DiCaprio. And then you have to be a scientist instead.
You think Leonardo DiCaprio is the most handsomest man alive?
I think a lot of people think that Leonardo DiCaprio was the most handsomest man alive. I
I
don't
would.
agree with that. You know my answer.
Okay, I just had to check because I do not agree. Um,
What's your incorrect opinion on the handsomest man alive?
oh, I have no idea. There's so many.
No, there's
But
one
it's
answer.
not Leo.
There's one correct answer, Eric.
Okay, is it Harrison Ford?
No.
Is it Mark Hamill?
No.
Is it the guy
It
who
is
played Anakin Skywalker?
it is in fact no one who's ever been in Star Wars. He
Is
was
it
in Star Trek though.
Travis Kelsey because he's currently dating Taylor Swift?
Travis Kelsey's face is unfortunate. Have you
Bro,
seen his facial hair, his
what?
mustache? Man is not attractive. I'm sorry.
Who is the most attractive,
Eric, you
handsomest
know.
man?
How do you not know this answer? The handsomest man alive?
Is it me?
No, you weren't in Star Trek.
Is it Leonard Nimoy?
No, first of all, not alive. Second of all, no.
Well,
Eric, you know this answer. We played the Newlywed Game. We weren't on the same team, but we played the Newlywed Game, and this was everybody's answer.
guy who played the captain in Star Trek.
No.
I don't know,
Forget,
Star Trek.
forget Star Trek. I'm throwing you off. Who is the handsomest man alive?
I'm still thinking about Star Trek.
This isn't a trivia question. Just think, who's the handsomest man alive? And that's the correct answer.
SpongeBob.
Eric!
Just tell me.
You Chris Hemsworth!
Oh. Yeah, he's like up there.
The objectively correct answer.
When was he on Star Trek?
He played Kirk's father.
Why wouldn't you have said Thor?
Because that would just give it away. I was trying to obfuscate the obvious correct answer you should have immediately gotten, which is Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, he's not bad, but like, there's also Jason Momoa and Dev Patel and
No. I don't
the
think anybody thinks Dev Patel is
Ryans.
attractive.
What do you mean?
Man's not attractive.
he
I know someone who
he
thinks
is.
Jason Momoa. I know a girl who thinks Jason Momoa is like peak attractiveness. I don't get it, but
What do you
whatever.
mean? What do you mean?
Like, I do not think he has an attractive face. Having a six pack alone is not enough to be attractive.
He has an attractive face.
I disagree. Anyway, off topic. What were we talking about?
I
Dracula?
and how you knew a person who was a stagehand and she didn't like
Yeah, and I was
acting.
confused because I thought everybody wanted to be George Clooney or DiCaprio.
Right. Every you said that everyone should want to be an actor,
I didn't say should want to be. I thought that they did. I guess
and
you're now correcting me.
Yes, and I was correcting you by saying there's plenty of people who, like, as soon as they knew what a career was, they were like, I'm gonna be that.
Yeah, okay. So I do want to say we're going to get a little more serious here for a second. While I do think that 5 year and 10 year plans are like good and that that's how you hit your goals, um, I am a firm believer that everybody, when they are 22 years old, has to kill their dreams. This is my own experience, and I've talked to a lot of other people because this is like the age group that I work with. I work with people between ages of like 16 and 26, where when they're in that like just graduated college period and life didn't turn out the way that they thought it would when they were like entering into the adult world and they feel like a failure. I'm just like, why do you feel like a failure? And they're like, well, by this age, I was supposed to do this, that, and the other thing. I'm not living my dream. I'm not doing this. I'm in a dead end job. I'm single. I'm not, playing the sport I thought I'd be playing. I don't have the job I thought I'd have. And I'm like, well, when did you come up with that dream? And they're like, I don't know, when I was like 11. And I'm like, right. So you're sitting here as a 22-year-old upset that you didn't accomplish the dreams of an 11-year-old. 11-year-olds are stupid. If you met an 11-year-old today and you ask them what they want to be when they grow up and they give a stupid answer, you're going to know that they're giving a stupid answer because they're 11. The key factor, in my opinion, of growing up is when you hit that 22 age, realize that the dreams you had when you were 11 are stupid, and you change and you start doing a more realistic goal based on who you are now versus who you thought you'd be when you were 22, when you were 11. So I think every 22-year-old needs to kill their dreams and start over with new dreams based on the actual course of their life as opposed to how they thought their life should have gone.
I disagree. I mean, there
Are
is
you
a
doing
certain.
what you thought you'd do when you were 11, Eric?
Well, my train of logic as a child was I'm going to be a mad scientist, but not someone who's actually mad, just the type of scientist that would work on things like a mad scientist would work on, such as like teleportation. And then I
And then
realized,
what were you actually
well,
doing when you were 22?
no, hang on a minute. So it when that was what I wanted to do as a child, realized that requires math and science, and I'm not good at that. And then it was to be a boxer, because shrug. And then after that, it was I have no idea.
Yeah. And then there's people like me who, when I was 11, I'm like, I'm going to do this, and this. And then one of those became impossible. One of them is something I had to give up on. And the other one I am, in fact, still working on, but I put it on the back burner and decided it is, in fact, not a dream. It is a goal.
Mm, distinction between dream and goal is interesting. But I'd say
I
you
think a
don't have to.
goal
Mhm.
I think a goal is something that you can work towards, whereas a dream is something that's more out of your hands, if that makes sense.
Mm. I don't think you have to kill the things. I mean, reevaluating is good and putting in the context of I was a child when I came up with these things. Um,
I think if all you're doing is reevaluating, you're gonna find excuses. You're gonna be like, I know someone who wanted to be married when they were 22, and they're not, and now they're older than 22, and it's like, okay, well, reevaluating, you're just gonna stop and you're gonna be like, well, I really think that should have happened already. It's like,
well,
okay,
no,
well, that's like no, like the dream of being married when you're 22 is over. It didn't happen. It's not gonna happen. It passed. You're too late. You can have a dream or a goal of being married when you're 25 or something like that, but like the goal, that number, is over. It didn't happen. Move on.
yeah, sure, but if you just change it to be 25 instead of 22, that's not really killing the dream so much as reevaluating, right? You look at what happened and why it didn't work out, and then you try to adjust and course correct based off the experience and knowledge you have and what went wrong, what went right, and then you go, okay, now I'm gonna set it up for this thing. Whereas killing it just makes it sound like you give up on it entirely. Like, oh, I didn't get married at 22. Guess I'll die alone.
No, it's not giving up on it. It is rejecting, it is realizing that that dream was stupid to begin with, that it was the idea of an 11-year-old child, accepting that the time you spent trying to achieve that dream was wasted, and coming up with a more realistic dream and goals for yourself now that you're an adult. Like,
That
the reason I
just,
say killing is because I think you have to actively accept that it was a dumb idea to begin with.
I mean, that just sounds like reevaluating,
Okay.
just with different words.
Again, I just think it needs to be stronger than that. Reevaluate is
Shrug.
a very politically correct term. Go out and
Is
kill your
it?
dreams. Kill your dreams is a very
Yes,
direct.
kill your dreams is much stronger, but I think
Yes.
being introspective and reflecting is just as fine.
But I think that you need that moment of someone telling you, no, you were stupid. And then you getting defensive, and then them saying, I'm not calling you stupid now, I'm calling your 11-year-old self stupid because all 11-year-olds are stupid. And then you realizing that they're right. I think that that's important.
Mm, I think I disagree slightly. Like, I don't know. Are children dumb? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of them.
Um, but I don't think they're so dumb. Like, the amount of emotional intelligence or awareness that a child can have is pretty good. And like, if you also come up with a dream when you're 11 and you come up with a fully detailed plan with an adult's help, and then you just are on that track to do those things, and then you are successfully doing those things, then you know.
I just think that a 14-year-old doesn't know what being a PhD student is. And so even if they come up with a 10-year plan and then they go and they accomplish that dream by the time they're 24, the dream has changed because their perspective on what they thought that thing was when they're 14 was incorrect.
Oh, sure. Um, yeah. But presumably, I mean, you're doing check-ins with yourself throughout this, 10-year journey, let's say, and going, is this still what I want to do? And, based on the past 4 years that I've been trying already, like, do I want to switch courses? Do I want to keep to it, etc.?
But that's the difference between a goal and a dream. A dream is something you feel so deeply that is a core aspect of yourself, whereas a goal is something that you're attempting to accomplish with like a checklist. I don't think you can reevaluate a dream because it's something you feel rather than you think.
Mm, mm, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. See, this is now the second opinion, I guess third opinion on this episode that I thought was pretty universal that you're disagreeing with. I thought everyone wanted to be an actor. I thought everyone would agree that Chris Hemsworth is the most handsome man alive. I thought everyone would agree that there's a difference between a goal and a dream, and that dreams are almost always dumb.
Oh, I don't disagree that there's a difference. I have what those differences are. You would have to come back to me though.
Okay. Like
Um,
when I was 11, like my goal, my dream, my whatever, it was always like I want to be an author. I want to write books, and I want to be a teacher. And I found as I got older and I learned things, or I tested stuff out, or I went to college and like started doing this stuff, and also just as the world around me changed, that the things I found appealing about writing books and being a teacher were things like educating people, were things like public speaking, were things like writing curriculums and then performing that curriculum and then reevaluating what worked and what didn't, right? Like applying the scientific method to teaching. The things I liked about being an author was I liked coming up with worlds and telling stories and writing and editing and, creating this work that then people would enjoy. And as a kid, I'm like, oh, an author of a novel is something that literally anybody can do. Whereas, like, a writer on a TV show you know, like when I was a kid, I loved Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm like, I could write Harry Potter by myself, but I could never write Avatar because like I'm not an animator, I'm not a showrunner, I'm not a producer, I'm not a voice actor. You know, there is no such thing as like the one guy who made the show, because there is no one guy who made the show. There's like at least four people whose names are often associated with Avatar. There's the two creators, the one guy who like wrote and directed a bunch of episodes, and then Dave Filoni, who also wrote and directed a bunch of episodes. Um, so I'm like, I could be a book person, and I could be a teacher. And now, with those goals, with those desires, with those things I'm good at and enjoy doing, have manifested as is being a YouTuber, which was not a job, which was not a thing that existed when I was 11. It literally was not a thing back then. But now I can treat my YouTube channel like, as, and I say this in a lot of my videos, I'm like, I'm going to tackle the subject as if we're in English class. We're going to analyze this literarily. We're going to, you know, structure this like a presentation, like a lecture. And that's what I do. And then I tell stories, or I analyze other people's stories. And I am still like writing books and stuff, but my goal of I'm going to be a teacher turned into I'm going to be a YouTuber. And I'm making a lot more money, and I'm a lot more happy. And again, it's just something that didn't exist back then. But now it do.
But now it do. You know what else might not have existed back then?
What else didn't exist back then?
The Grand Chase.
The Grand Chase, well, it exists now. Let's listen to it. Funny story, you know how Discord, like, cuts out any weird noises we make, like when you're trying to do an impression or you're making weird, like, popping sounds with your mouth?
Yeah.
So, a little while ago, a few days ago, there was that hour-long interview with the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. A YouTuber named Dawko did an interview with him.
Uh-huh.
And they did the interview over Discord. And in the beginning, Dawko starts by saying, like, hey, I've practiced a song for you. I made a song for you that I practice. And so he pulls out a harmonica, and he plays a really cool song on the harmonica that he had, again, practiced for when he got to speak to the creator. And he finishes playing and he puts it down, and the creator goes, I don't think any of those sounds came through. I think Discord's, like, program got rid of all the harmonica noises, so I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I'm like, oh, that's incredible. Yeah, that's exactly how that works, and that's really funny, and that happens to us all the time.
Dang.
I just thought that was kind of topical.
That is pretty topical. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell my tooth story now.
Amazing. Beautiful.
Beautiful. I have a lot of family in the South. The South has this chain of restaurants called Golden Corral. Have you heard of them, Eric?
I have heard of Golden Corral.
Golden Corral, or GoCo, as the cool kids call it, is a buffet-style restaurant. So you go in, you pay a price, and they just have these buffets of all this different food, and you go up and you can fill your plate as many times as you'd like from all the different food stations. And so every time I would have a visit with my family down there, all 30 of my cousins or whatever, we would go to GoCo at least once, because it's the easiest thing to do to get all of the 30 cousins and the 20 aunts and uncles and grandparents out to the same place, is to go to a buffet. So we don't need to, like, worry about someone who has a dietary restriction or doesn't like this kind of food or has an allergy, etc., etc. So every single year we'd go to the GoCo. 3 years, 3 summers in a row, I lost a tooth while on vacation. 2 of those years was at Golden Corral. Every year after we'd leave the buffet, we'd go outside and we'd take a picture of all the cousins standing in front of the building. And for 2 of those years, I have a bloody rag in my mouth, trying to stop the bleeding.
Mm. You think gargle salt water?
Gargle salt water to stop the bleeding? That just feels like it would burn.
No, no. Well, you do it to like help to clean it.
Yeah, you clean it, but then
Yeah,
it's just bleeding. It's
I
bleeding and
know.
bleeding. You know, you bite
Just
into something and the tooth comes out.
yeah. I don't remember my
Anyway,
teeth being so bloody. Anyway,
anyway. Fourth year comes around, and we're going down there, and we're in the South. I have now reached an age in which I have no more baby teeth.
so you stub your toe.
No. That experience, that week, was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. While I was down there, I started getting extreme pain in one of my teeth. I needed a root canal.
Ooh.
So down there for the last 4 days of my vacation, my father like calls my dentist back home and schedules a root canal for like the first or second day that we come home. But while I'm down there, I am in such pain. And my dad's like, I guess you can take Advil? Um, we don't really have anything else, sorry. And so we go to Golden Corral, and I'm sitting there, and then it dawns on me, and I'm like, it's the curse. I'm cursed. I have no more baby teeth, and so now I need to have the equivalent of an adult losing a tooth. I need to have a root canal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the curse, and I haven't been back to a Golden Corral since.
It's very brave. Do you think you'll ever go
Thank you.
back?
I don't know, I'm worried.
It's fair.
And then the root canal sucked, and then I had a cap, and I actually have to have that cap repaired this coming September. So it
Mm.
had a good run. I think this is only the second time I've had to replace it. So that's cool. Unfortunately, they
Gosh.
don't give you silver teeth anymore. They give you this stupid white plaster stuff that looks like a tooth color, so I don't get silver in my mouth, but it's fine.
Yeah. Deal. But I don't know. That lasted what, like 10 years?
I think I had to have it repaired a
14?
couple years ago, so yeah. Like 7, I guess?
I don't know, that's not too shabby.
Yeah, if I had to get the root canal at 14, I probably had to have it repaired at 21. Now I have to have it repaired at 28.
So when you went to the dentist, was your dentist like, I always wanted to be an actor? Or
I never asked. One of the dental assistants that I used to go to, she was convinced that she was psychic.
mm,
So those are always fun conversations.
that's fun. My dentist receptionist um is just a fan of my names, and so I'll like check in and she'll be like, da da da. Oh, da da da. I love your name. She talks about changing hers. She still hasn't.
Like she wants to change her name to Eric.
Who's to say?
Okay,
It could be to Eric. It could be the
Erica.
Erica. Uh, it could be to the spelling with a C, with a K, with a CH. Could be anything. It could be air, AIR, and then ICK.
Eric.
Yeah.
You know what gives me the ick air?
Uh-huh.
That's the best I had. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't have the greatest
No, that's fine.
transition there. Um, we get rags shipped to us at work. And what
Okay.
happens is we use those rags for everything. We toss them in a hamper, and then they take the rags and they bring them and they bleach and wash them. And then, they ship the rags off to all their customers. So, like, we'll get our own rags back, we'll get other people's rags, whatever. And, like, we use the same rags to clean the counters, and clean the popcorn kettles, and clean the inside of the toilet bowls, and
Mhm.
clean the wine glasses, and clean the floors, and clean the grills. And then we take them and we give them back and they bleach them. I hope. And
They
occasionally we'll
clean
get a
them.
rag back. They'll clean them. We get a rag back and it's like one of them was covered in just this black charcoal stuff, which like happens. We have these giant black bricks, and I don't know what they really do, but you use them to clean the top of the grill. You were a cook. I don't know what they do, but you use those bricks, right?
Yeah, it's a brick of charcoal, and you use it to clean the top of the grill.
So like, and then you use a rag to like actually clean the top of the grill, right?
No,
Like to wipe it
no.
down. You never use a
You
rag to
take
wipe it down?
nope, only if you're bad. You take the
Oh.
pizza scraper and
Mm.
scrape off the like gunk that comes up from using the charcoal brick, and yeah, I never used the rag, or if I did, I it was just to like get into like a little awkward spot.
Anyway, this rag
Anyway,
very clearly had that charcoal stuff on it. One of the rags was just completely covered in lint from, I'm guessing, their dryer. And so I'm going through these rags and I'm like, if these can come out looking these poorly, right? Like these look this bad. What about the ones that we use to clean the toilet bowl? What about the ones where the guy poops on the floor and
mm,
then we gotta dry it? What happens to those rags? Do those rags get cleaned? Do those rags get cleaned as well as these? By which I mean not well at all. Do we then use
does
those to clean our
someone
wine glasses?
does someone else have your poopy rag?
Yeah. Or do we have our own poopy rag? Or do we have someone else's poopy rag?
It's gross.
Yeah. So it made me lose some faith in our institutions.
Hmm. Well, you know, theaters are dying, so
My guy, restaurants
we
use
will
the
know.
exact. First of all, theaters are not dying. Deadpool just
I
became the
know.
highest-grossing R-rated movie of all time, passing Passion of the Christ, and it's the sixth largest movie opening ever. Secondly,
Wow.
restaurants use the exact same rag service. So
I know.
very sad,
Those are good
very concerning.
rags. I like those rags.
Sometimes we get them and they're just like completely torn up as if someone took scissors to them, and I'm just like, why are we paying the same for a destroyed rag that we would use for a good rag? And the answer is, I have no idea.
Well, it's probably just a bulk thing, you know. You get 100 rags for $100. Don't look
It's
at the quality.
probably cheaper than that. At least I would hope it is.
Well, sure, I'm just spitballing.
Do you have any fun stories about those rags?
About those rags? No, not about those rags. Um, I would always low key kind of play basketball when at the end of the shift to like throw them in the hamper. I mean, I can tell you how to clean the grill.
Like, what does the brick thing actually do? Why is that what gets rid of whatever's on the grill?
Um, couldn't tell you. I don't
Okay.
know why chemistry is the way it is. But right, like you're cooking burgers and whatever else on it, and it's hot, and so you take your oil and your charcoal brick and you scrub down the grill, and it cleans it off. Why does charcoal clean things? Chemistry. That's all I got. Um, and then,
I'm bad at chemistry because I never wanted to be a chemist. I wanted to be an actor.
and that's dandy for you.
Hmm.
Um, you also can use like lemon juice on the grill once it's cooled off enough to give it an extra shine.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Do you know about lemon and lime tattoos?
No,
No? You've never heard of this?
no, like an actual
If
lemon and a lime tattooed onto you.
no, if you take lime juice and you put it on your skin in the sun, it burns you. And so it creates what people call a temporary tattoo because it just leaves you with a burn. And so you can make cool designs with it. I do not recommend doing this because you're literally burning yourself and it could be permanent. But there's all these stories where someone's like, I was making cocktails in the sun and now my hands are like permanently burned and they were like that for 3 years, but now they're fine. Or someone's like, I did a little smiley face by putting a lemon wedge on my arm.
Wild.
But I was talking about this at work and like no one had ever heard of it. I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you not know the lime juice tattoo trick?
I shrug. They just
Okay.
run in different circles.
But this is just like, I don't know, common knowledge? Like, talk about chemistry.
I mean, I had never heard of it either, so
That's so weird to me.
the challenges people give themselves.
What, burning yourself?
Yeah, or like the cinnamon challenge, or all these things.
The cinnamon challenge is gonna kill you. It's not even a challenge. You're just being stupid.
Well,
The
yeah,
lime juice reacts in the sun to burn you isn't a challenge. It's just a thing.
I guess that's crazy how much food can just kill people.
The condition is colloquially referred to as a margarita burn. Occurs when the chemical found in citrus fruits react with sunlight. The juice from limes uh, can burn you. I want to look at images, but I don't want to look at any like if someone like burns their face, it's gonna be this disgusting first. Yep. Oh, okay. Yep. A bunch of boils. That's great.
Mm,
Lime juice burn on purpose. Maybe now there won't be a bunch of scary, disgusting images in front of me. Nope. It's all the
porpoise.
same ones. Nope. It's all the same
Mm.
ones. You got nothing. You got nothing about lime juice. Do you like limes? What's your opinion on limes?
Uh, no opinion. They're fine, I guess. I I I don't really eat limes. They're fine as a their juice is fine. Sprinkle it over some food. I'm more a lemon guy though. Get some fried calamari, take a lemon wedge, squeeze it over your
See
calamari.
that I was interested in that because I was gonna be like, I love limes. Like I'll just eat a lime, but not really lemons as much. Like to me, lemons are like you squeeze the juice on something, or like you can make lemonade. Whereas lime is like a fruit, like an apple or an orange that you can just eat, but lemons are not.
Whoa! I've never heard of someone eating a lime like an apple.
Or like an orange.
Even I've never heard of someone consuming it like a normal fruit.
Really?
It's in the same vein as a lemon. It's like a garnish for your drink, or it's for the juice. It's not
Interesting.
to like eat raw.
Interesting. Because like I totally do that. I knew one guy who just ate lemons. I know a
Yeah.
couple people who actually just eat lemons, which I think is weird. But eating limes is
Both of
fine.
those are weird.
Okay. Um, because me and you know the same person, I think you're going to know this as well. But in Spanish, there is no distinguishing between lemons and limes. Like it's the same word.
Huh.
So one of the guys who you worked in the kitchen with, whose first language was Spanish, whenever the cook would be like, "Hey, we need a lemon for this, or we need a lime for this," he had a lot of trouble with it because
Hmm.
to him he couldn't they're the same thing. Like there is no
Right.
word separating them, so in his mind it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Which I think is just it's wild that like language can create these like socially constructed concepts where to me it's like lemons are bigger, lemons are yellow, limes are green, lemons are sour, limes are a lot sweeter. Like to me they're just as different as strawberries and blueberries.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess for us, right, like a Macintosh apple and a green Granny Smith apple, we just call them apples.
No, it's Granny Smith apple. Thank you very
Okay.
much. It
But
is
if I said
the
hand me
only.
if I said hand me an
Mhm.
apple and in front of you is a red apple and a green apple, which apple are you handing me?
I've never heard of a hammy and apple.
Which apple are you handing me?
I don't know. I've never heard of a hammy and apple.
What?
What?
I said in front of you is a red apple and a green apple. And I say
Right.
hand me an apple.
I guess the red one.
Okay, yeah. It's a correct answer. But also just like I don't know, the way that language makes you think, it really makes you think.
You you said hand me and I heard
Yeah.
it as hand me like a hand me apple. Language really do make you think.
Language do be like that.
Well, speaking of apples, there's one with my name on it. It's given to me
That
by the raccoons in the dumpster. So,
is it your lunch food?
yeah, I'm coming up on a break. The train whistle's about to blow.
All right, so you got to go eat your lunch.
I gotta go eat my apple, yes. My Granny Smith apple.
Hmm. Well, I hope you enjoy your
Well,
Granny Smith apple. And I hope that everybody enjoyed today's episode of Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town. If you want to write in, you can always Gmail us at gmailslapendipity@gmail. Bye, everyone.
bye.